Welcome to the League 2.0 podcast, featuring your hosts, Charlie Little and Kyle Jackson.
Heyo, it's the League 2.0. This is what, the third podcast?
I think it's the fourth podcast. But
fourth podcast, third week. We're concluding the second week. Wow, this is confusing.
Super confusing.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Got my first win. Got that off my back. I feel good.
Yeah,
they were like week 7 last year, so
it's a nice feeling, isn't it? The league's a little more fun when you're winning.
So much more fun.
It was kind of funny how our podcast kind of, cooled off and disappeared when your year completely fell apart.
Yeah, I don't know if those things are related, but they probably are.
As you could probably tell, it's just me and Kyle. We got no winter this week. Hopefully you all aren't too disappointed. You can probably also hear that I'm pretty sick. I don't have COVID, but I just have a nice little cold going on here. So bear with me. So one other thing that's been distracting me this week is hockey, fantasy hockey. This has completely snuck up on me. Are you doing any fantasy hockey this year, Kyle?
I'm not. I actually always want to do it, but then never end up doing it. It's always like hockey season. I'm like, man, I really regret not making a fantasy hockey team.
Yeah.
And then I never do it. So
definitely keeps you kind of up to date on who's performing. That's one reason why I like doing fantasy is it keeps your eyeballs on who the best players are in each league.
Yeah.
That's actually why I do NBA fantasy sometimes. Just so
we're doing
my
it
pulse.
with winter, no?
Yes, usually with winter, which I don't know. I'm kind of questioning whether I can fit it in this year, but he'll probably
he'll convince you.
He will completely convince me to do it. So, oh well. But yeah, I've been kind of distracted by fantasy hockey. I've got like a keeper league that's not as great as this league, but it rivals it in many ways. Like the guy who runs it puts in more work than I do for this league, which is I put in a lot of work. I'm not lying.
You should see the Google Doc.
Anyways, let's touch on this league. I'm hearing a lot of trade rumblings. I thought that we'd see a trade by now, and nothing has come through. At least nothing's come across my desk.
No, it's just all rumblings. It seems like a lot of people are interested in making moves, but it's just not there yet because everyone's still invested in their players, even if they aren't performing. It's hard to give up on a player you drafted or kept that for that matter.
Yeah.
It's just hard to even take them out of your lineup. It's hard like moving on this fast.
Mooney, right? Like Darnell Mooney.
Yes, like Darnell Mooney. That Chicago offense is very fun to watch.
Yeah. We were definitely using the rain as solid excuse in that first week, and it didn't look any better in week 2.
Weather looked good last week.
Actually, they looked really good their first drive, and like David Montgomery was running the ball super duper well, and then absolute trash the rest of the game. Bizarre.
They threw like 17 pass attempts or something, or 11, really? I think. 11, I think.
In a row?
No, in the whole game.
Oh my god!
I'm pretty sure Justin Fields was 7 for 11. Or something like that. Like they didn't throw the ball the whole fourth quarter. I remember watching it; it never changed. I thought my phone just wasn't updating.
But they also that's weird. They also went away from using David Montgomery. I don't know. It was just
I don't know. I think it's hard to do anything when you're just three and out.
Good point. Just punting. Anyways, let's move on to injuries. There were a couple pretty big ones, like Trey Lance out for the season with a broken ankle. That was ugly.
Feels bad.
Here's the best looks that we have at the Trey Lance right leg injury. A designed run for him. Oh boy, and I think I saw that his leg was twisted the wrong way, and he tried to get back up on it. Oh my goodness, this is horrible. You're gonna see a replay of it. His right leg as he plants, and then as 2 defenders come on top of him, it crumples the wrong way.
This is not a nice take, but like the fans were like cheering. Like obviously you cheer for anyone when they get taken off and they wave to the crowd and all that. But I feel like the reaction was like as if Trey Lance has done something for the franchise when he hasn't. It's all been talk. The past years, like he's gonna be the next big thing. It didn't. Obviously, he didn't take over the starting role. Then coming into this year, same thing. He didn't look great in the first
He
two
didn't
games,
look great, no.
and it's kind of like I almost feel like their coach is probably like, or Shanahan, right? He was probably like maybe a little bit
I think he
happy.
is happy. He
Yeah.
gets the guy he knows better. Like Jimmy G's taken them far before.
Yes, he's definitely more predictable, more of a game manager, and I
Yes.
think like the fantasy shows I listen to, they're all saying like the fantasy stock of all their players is up because of Jimmy Garoppolo. It's kind of
Yeah.
like,
Especially George Kittle, if he ever plays.
yes, he's supposed to play, which that's
He
in
was
our
a
injury
big
list.
target for Jimmy G.
He is huge. He's one of those tight ends that can change a week for you, which there aren't many of them. And this year we're going to touch on it.
Seems
Tight
like
ends.
there's even less.
Oh man, it has been a grind for tight ends. Another quarterback that was hurt, Justin Herbert, which is Bryce's beautiful little
Stud.
boy. Absolute stud. Great flow. He looked like he broke his ribs, which I think it was cartilage or something they
You
said.
don't need those, right? You just throw the ball. I think it's fine.
It was crazy how he was absolutely battling, and the game is basically out of reach, and they kept putting him back out there. It's like,
He just wanted to go out there and sling it. He's a gamer.
Would you allow that? Like your franchise? I don't know. It seemed really daring, but he did end up tossing a gem, like an absolute strike to Joshua Palmer, your little bench boy.
Yeah, my bench was really good last week.
It was a great bench, and your
had like 60 points. Yeah,
your team is
just
looking,
a good week.
Your team is looking real nice. So other injuries. Let's not get carried away with your beautiful team. Alvin Kamara, who is Wally World's, supposed to be best running
keeper.
back. Yes, he kept him as his first round pick, right?
Yep.
He's battling some rib issues. Apparently returned to practice, but he's questionable, but probable to play this week, which is huge for him. I think he needs him to win.
Yeah, anytime any team is missing their first round pick,
it's hard.
It kind of feels like it's a mountain to climb just to get that dub.
Yeah, that's a great point. James Conner, he left with an ankle injury last week. That hurt me pretty badly. It's considered not serious, thank God. But he's questionable for this week.
He'll probably play.
I
feel like this is what his career is. He always is banged up, but he still plays.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes it feels like he won't be able to produce, and he still does. I don't know.
Yeah. He just leaves it all out there.
Keenan Allen's still dealing with hamstring problems. Apparently he participated in individual drills, but he's questionable. So Joshua
Whenever I see anyone participated, I feel like they're going to play.
Yeah?
In my head.
Drills, though. Individual.
True.
So I think that means
Maybe
no
not
contact,
then.
right? So I think he's going to be
that's a good point.
another week. So Riley, you need someone in there. Michael Pittman should be coming back.
Love
Colts
that.
Jerry Jeudy.
Colts need him.
I think, Gavin needs to get that clip of this where Jerry Jeudy. Did you see Jerry Jeudy get absolutely hammered?
No.
Oh my God. He caught a ball and was taken out so hard. I think just out of bounds. He hurt his shoulder ribs. He's questionable, unlikely to play. He definitely cue that up for this podcast.
Yeah, I need to see that.
It's nasty. Michael Gallup is supposed to be coming back. He had a knee issue. He should be starting this week, which is huge for Dallas because they do not have very much wide receiver depth.
I also just don't know if it's that important, though, with no Dak.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't hurt the team.
Cooper Rush looked pretty good in that first half.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Looked effective. Julio Jones, that's someone that's on Bryce's bench. He is having a knee issue. I read that he's getting all Wednesdays off.
Love that. I wish I could do that.
I know, right? Like, just get that inked into your contract, just Wednesdays.
Goals.
So he's questionable. He's probably not playing. Actually,
probably
no, I think it's 50-50 from what I was reading. Which the Bucks they're dealing with a lot of injuries.
Absolute mess. Godwin, Evans.
Yet they still somehow won that game against the Saints. I don't know how they did it.
It was not pretty. That was a terrible football game.
Yes. Yeah, it was. George Kittle, which is one of Dave's higher picks. He has been dealing with the groin issue. He's expected to return for week 3.
Love it. It's a fun player to watch.
Yes, and
Another
especially
big return. So that means if Wally could get Kamara and Kittle back this week, it's a big boost to his team after a pretty rough week too.
that's a very good point. Who is he taking on? Not Rogue Val. Wally World. He's taking on Finney. 0-2 teams matching up. That'll be fun.
Big tie incoming.
Oh, and the the last thing I read was that apparently Lazard, Watson, and Watkins did not participate for Thursday's practice for Green Bay. So their wide
No
receivers
way.
are an absolute mess. That is
Looks good for us though. That means Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are going to get all the pass catching too.
Yes. Feed them. So that's our injuries. Let's move on to the waiver wire. There were a couple like decent pickups, but nothing like nothing crazy. No one that I think everyone was willing to unload all their budget for. So
Just some role players, some depth.
Yes, mostly depth. Which sometimes those depth pieces don't look very special, and then next thing you know, like oh my god, Cordero Patterson last year.
Yep.
That's the one guy that I didn't think twice about. He was picked up, didn't even notice, and then
he was incredible the entire year.
So you never really know. So the pickups this week, we had Daryl Williams. He went for $16 to Bryce. That's a pretty hefty amount, especially considering the second best offer was $0 by David. What do you think about that pickup?
I think James Conner is going to play personally, so then I don't really like the pickup. But if he was the starter, it's worth it for at least a week. But I think long term, Connor's going to play.
I hope so.
So there's a lot of money to spend on a guy you might only be able to play once.
Mm-hmm. And even then, Eno Benjamin seems to be getting a fair bit of run too. So
yes, he had a lot of carries last week.
Yeah, I would say Daryl Williams is the better of the two, but
yeah, he looked better.
Still not. I wouldn't say $16 worth, but you never know.
No.
He could be the next Cordero Patterson.
He sure could be.
Raheem Mostert went to Andrew for $11. The second best bid was Finney, who put in $6. So there were a couple bids on him. What do you think of that addition?
I think if you want to get part of that offense, because if we're being real, Chase Edmonds has looked terrible, and Raheem Mostert has done it before. He's looked very, very good in the past. He obviously hasn't really played much football in the last couple of years, but there's a chance there that he could steal the job if he comes out and plays well. So I don't mind spending that. Like, it's not that much fab.
No.
I would rather have Mostert than Williams personally.
I agree. I actually considered putting a little bit of money on Mostert just because some of what I was reading is that he's taking on a bit of a receiving role, which is very. No one saw that coming because that seems to be Chase Edmonds' kind of specialty. So,
and if I recall, he's super fast. Mostert,
yes.
Maybe
I remember
catch a deep ball or something in the backfield. You never know because you have to get matched with a linebacker, right?
Good point. Yeah.
Never know.
Noah Brown, $6 went to Bryce. There were no other bids. This one, I kind of like. He did look good. I will say that because I watched that whole Bengals game. It was atrocious for the Bengals.
So bad.
He looked great, but Bryce has CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup is most likely coming back. So this one's kind of like I understand. Like maybe he will be useful, but yeah, it's not the best week to spend on Noah Brown. I think.
Yeah, especially when there's no other offers. Yeah, you could have put in $1 or something, but hey, if you want your guy, you put whatever you think you need to.
100%.
Like with Wilson last week, I put 22 in just because I thought that's what I needed to put in to even have a chance. I was wrong, but just got to get your guy sometimes.
You've got that money to spend it, right? Like it sucks when you're at the end of the year and you're like, I didn't even spend my fab. Like maybe you could have made your team better and you wasted that. Yep. So you never know. Trevor Lawrence, $6 to David and Liz. There were no other bids, but that's
it's a
nice
good pickup to replace Trey Lance.
Yeah, I feel like Trevor Lawrence, I would have loved to make a water bet. Although I don't think you would have made this because you don't really care about Trey Lance. But I would have made a water bet that Trevor Lawrence would have a better year than Trey Lance. But that's never going to happen now, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I think he's technically already had a better year.
Yeah, it's not bold at all. Okay, just pretend the first 2 weeks didn't happen. I would have made that bet. He's looked really good, and like coming into the year, just looked like everything pointed towards him having a better season. So, a lot of it came down to coaching, right? So,
And now he has that receiver that seems to have a pretty good connection with. Kirk has looked very good for that offense.
Yes, that's been like one of the best draft picks of the year, I think, to my dad.
Yep.
That
Agree.
was a sneaky get. Gavin grabbed Michael Gallup for $3. There were no other bids. That's just a good grab.
Yeah,
he's
a good player.
Number 2 wide receiver right off the hot. And CeeDee Lamb hasn't even looked that great, so you never know. Maybe Gallup becomes the guy.
Yeah, he's looked mediocre at best, I would say, CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm. And then Logan Thomas, $2. He went to me. Second best bid was Bryce for $1.
That might be my favorite pickup of the week because at least it's a tight end that's produces rather consistently. Because it seems like Washington's going to throw the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But in the great scheme of things, tight end position's been so terrible this year that even if he only gets you 6 points, that's a good week from a tight end. It feels like.
Yeah,
I feel like he's
100%.
a guaranteed 6 points almost.
Yeah, it's been a brutal year for tight ends. Like I actually just want to pull it up quickly. Like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews are leading the charge. They've got just under 30 points after 2 weeks, but there aren't many standouts, right? Like one of the top guys is OJ Howard, and he was only good for that one game, right?
2 catches, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Gerald Everett's been a little sleeper. He's at 23 points. But yeah, it's been I don't know, pretty yucky year, and I'm so disappointed with Cole Kmet. That's why I grabbed Logan Thomas.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Had to make the move.
I expect Logan Thomas to provide me maybe 1 or 2 weeks before he's out with some sort of injury, but whatever.
That's most likely, but
I'll ride.
Worth your
I'll
$2.
Why not? I need someone this coming week, so I was happy with that. There were a couple of other guys out there like Irv Smith. He could be sneaky.
Looks good, yeah.
All right, on to our top scorers for week 2. Now, the number 1 QB, he was actually the number 1 and the number 2 QBs were in an absolute barn burner of a game. That Miami-Baltimore game was insane.
Just one of the craziest fourth quarters I've ever seen.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Like, especially when you're watching Red Zone, they kept cutting back to that game. Yeah. You're like, wait, what? Like they scored.
How is this happening?
Tunnel by Loa. Blocked by Armstead. 2 into the end zone. Caught for the touchdown! Caught for the touchdown! Waddle! Miami has taken the lead!
Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill just put in a clinic.
Yes. Yeah. It was nice for you with Waddle, obviously.
It was.
And then not nice for Finn and his bench because he had Tua. That was really unfortunate. That hurts.
The difference between winning and losing for him.
Oh, welcome to fantasy football, Finn. It is. It's a grind. So Lamar Jackson, he had one of his typical like video game type numbers. He had 119 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Like that's
50, right?
That's a huge week for. Sorry, he had 42.62 points in our format. But yeah, 119 yards and a touchdown on the ground. That's like a good week for a running back. So
I feel like most running backs haven't had that this year.
No, I think you're right. And then he had 3 touchdowns, 318 yards through the air. So that was a good little game. And then Tua had 469 yards passing and 6 touchdowns through the air. Like insanity.
Have you seen that video of him online where the guy switched the camera so it makes it look like he's throwing with his right hand?
No, what?
It looks everyone was watching. I was like, oh my god, it makes his throwing motion look better.
Oh my god, just because we all hate on lefties?
Yeah, that's what it seems like to be boiling down to.
Oh my!
It just looks weird because he's left-handed.
That's funny. That's the kind of life that you live, eh?
He looked so good though.
And then the third quarterback was Jalen Hurts. I'm loving this guy. Did he not look good?
Yeah, he did.
On Monday night. Oh my!
Unfortunately,
He had 333 yards through the air, which is really good.
That's
considering
weird for
last
him,
year
yeah.
They barely passed, and then he had 2 touchdowns on the ground and 1 through the air. So, woo!
It's pretty good, I guess.
Oh, baby. That was...
Traded
Philadelphia
Joe
looks...
Burrow for him.
I'm a Bengals fan, but that's not
I
gonna
know.
do it for me. And then let's jump into running backs. Nick Chubb led the way with 30.8 points. That's Bryce's guy.
He's a beast.
He had 3 touchdowns, eh?
That's what's rare for him. He's usually the guy who just gets 100 yards, it seems like every week, but no scores.
Yeah,
so that was a nice surprise.
And he only had 17 rushing attempts, which
Yeah.
is a lot, but like they're still using Kareem a fair bit.
For the end of the game, at least, he came in a lot, Kareem. I remember the first 2.5 quarters, he had like 1 point from me.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. Nick Chubb almost ran like 50 yards for a touchdown as we're talking about him. That's a weird
that would have been ironic.
The number 2 running back on the week was Aaron Jones, your guy.
Wow. Yeah, he was so good. He's averaging 9 yards a carry. Pretty good, I guess.
Oh, God. He looked electric.
Seems like he can definitely keep that pace up, right?
Hey, you never know. He looks great.
Yeah.
He might be
maybe because they never know who they're going to give the ball to, because Dylan and Jones seem to be on the field always at the same time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they're both being successful.
A little deception. A.J. Dillon wasn't so successful past week. He looked like he was a lot
He was
slower.
in week 1.
If I was an Aaron Jones owner, I'd be annoyed watching that just because they kept giving it to A.J. Dillon when he didn't look nearly as effective. I don't know.
It seems like they really want A.J. Dillon to be a thing, which, hey, week 1 he was incredible.
Yes.
Well, I think they realized those are their 2 best offensive players, other than Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but so they're just giving it to their guys who they think are most likely to perform, I guess.
It's pretty fun to see the different ways they line up at the line.
It is, yeah.
You truly don't know who's going to get it. It is pretty cool. And then Tony Pollard. He sneaks in as the 3rd best running back on the week. He only put up 17.8 points, but still, that's good for Tony Pollard.
Yeah, it's a great week for a guy who's essentially a backup.
Yes.
But he definitely looks like the best running back in Dallas.
He had a touchdown on the ground, and he had 55 receiving yards, 4 receptions. That's a good week. Yeah, it's becoming more and more clear that Ezekiel Elliott doesn't really have the juice in him anymore to...
No, and he's not even really getting the goal line carries, which is everyone thought he at least had that.
Yeah, they don't look afraid to go away from him. It used to be it almost felt like they were, protecting his ego in the past, and now it's kind of like they don't care. They just want to win. Which your division with Dallas and Philly, it's looking like a fun division.
And the 2-0 Giants.
Oh shit, I forgot about that team. Yeah. Wow.
Totally gonna keep.
I can't believe they're 2-0. I cannot believe they're 2-0.
I'm more surprised the Bengals are 0-2, but.
And it's so painful. Both games are close too, but they just didn't deserve either game. Okay, don't get me started on them.
No, Joe Burrow looks lost a little bit out there.
He does. He looks.
And I'm not a fan of it.
T. Higgins looked really good this past week.
He did.
Okay, on to the wide receivers. Stephon Diggs. Oh my God, was
so
he
good.
Unbelievable on Monday night.
That Buffalo team is very, very talented.
They cannot be stopped. It's actually wow. So Tyreek Hill was the number 2 wide receiver on the week. If you were to watch that game, would you consider anyone would beat Tyreek Hill's scoring line? From
no.
That's I just thought of that. That's crazy. Anyway, Stephon Diggs had 15 targets, 12 receptions, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns. It looks so easy for them.
He just always has enough separation for Josh Allen to make the perfect pass. They're a match made in heaven.
They are. I'm sure Andrew wears that jersey with pride. Does he wear it every Sunday? I wonder. I bet he doesn't.
Probably not.
He should, but I bet he doesn't seem like the type. I don't know. Number 2 is Tyreek Hill. He had an unbelievable game. Jalen Waddle came 4th, by the way. We're not going to touch on him, but he came
with
4th.
19 targets.
Oh my God, he had 19 targets.
19 targets.
So maybe
Hill had 15, I think, targets. So it's just only has 2 guys.
Yeah, and
which is all you need.
it's working so far. So Tyreek had 13 targets, 11 receptions, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That's classic Tyreek Hill, though.
And then your better wide receiver, apparently, Amon-Ra, Saint Brown. Everyone
so
needs to learn who
good.
this guy is. If you don't know who he is, you need to learn, because this guy he's the real deal.
Seems like it.
I didn't realize this. He had 2 rushing attempts for 68 yards.
It did. The one was like a 56-yard carry or something. I was watching.
Wow. And then 12 targets, 9 receptions, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And him and Jared Goff are looking like they have a connection, which is nice because
it started last year. At the end of last year, he was incredible.
I think that's when you know he truly is a talented wide receiver, because it's not like Jared Goff is chucking it into like tight windows. Like,
no,
guaranteed Amon-Ra has to create a lot of separation, because I don't know. Goff isn't.
It does help that he pretty much only stares at him.
Yes, yeah, he's getting a lot of targets.
Love that.
Like, what's his competition? DJ Chark,
who's not look great, but they're gonna have the rookies gonna be back in a couple weeks probably, Jameson, and that might change some stuff. But
that's a good point. All right, on to the tight ends. Mark Andrews. He finally had that week, that top tight end kind of week. 21.2 points. 11 targets, 9 receptions, 104 yards.
Lamar Jackson's number 1 target.
Oh, yeah. And this feels like this will be his standard line moving forward. Like 20 points is what you can expect from him week to week. Number 2 is Darren Waller. That's another one of Andrew's guys. He only had 14 points. Like, it's good, but
I would take that from a tight end.
Yeah, it really comes down to, did your tight end get a touchdown? If your tight end got a touchdown, you're happy.
Yep.
So Darren Waller, 8 targets, 8 targets, not what he used to have. Obviously, with Devontae Adams there, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, but 8 targets from your tight end every week is exactly what you're looking for.
That's on the high end for tight end.
Yeah.
50 yards and a touchdown. And then the third best was Mike Gesicki, which it's almost like he only did this much considering how many scores are in that Miami game.
Yeah.
12.1 points, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 41 yards, 1 touchdown. So, tight ends. Tight ends are
gross.
They're just, they're not exciting. That's for sure. I almost want to get rid of them sometimes, or maybe make us have to have, having 2 would just make it even worse.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous.
That would be really dumb. Okay, we're going to move on to what we added in last week, the Worryometer. So there are a couple higher end players that I think should be a little bit concerning. So I wanted to talk to you about it.
Okay.
We're going to start off with Riley's guy, Derrick Henry, who he kept with the 12th overall pick. He had he had a TD in week 2, which I think saved his stat line because it was nothing special up to that point. He only has 107 rush yards in 2 weeks, 107 rush yards total, and he has no receptions, which I know he's always had the label of not being a receiving back, but he actually received a lot last year. So
I am a little bit worried. I know Derrick Henry does this sometimes. Like, he started slow in the pass and then was an RB1 by the end of the year, but he's older. He was hurt last year. The Titans don't look very good.
Yeah, it's like everything.
I'm pretty sure I saw a thing today that Derrick Henry is like 10 months older than Todd Gurley.
What? Really?
And that really like stuck in my brain. Like, that's crazy. Like, Todd Gurley hasn't been relevant in like years, it feels like.
Wow, yeah.
When you think about it, it's kind of crazy, but obviously not that important right now. Like, Derrick Henry, it's just the problem is he's getting contacted in the backfield like every time he touches the ball, and he's the runner that needs to build up steam. Like, once he starts going, then you can't stop him. But if you stop him before he starts going, that's the way you beat him. That's like the only way, because once he's going, you can't. Like, he's going through you.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's got to get a couple steps going, and then once he gets ahead of steam, he can't be stopped.
He's not the running back that dances around in the backfield and then takes off. He's just straight line, go through everyone.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary. I don't know. I would give him the benefit of the doubt in week 2 because he was against Buffalo. Their defense is looking insane. But week 1 was against the the Giants, and it's like
And
not
they
to hate
look
on
great.
this
I don't know
team.
what you're talking about. No. They're terrible. They're
Right?
not
Like
very
you
good.
even said they don't have any linebackers now, right? So
Tay Crowder's their number one linebacker, and he's not great.
yeah, so it's definitely there should be concern. If I was Riley, I wouldn't be loving it, but you just got to hold on and hope for the best moving forward. Hopefully, he starts getting some
But I
passes.
would say Derrick Henry's. I'm maybe the least concerned about him than every other running back on this list.
Yes. He's gonna have. He should have a decently high floor. He
Yes,
just might not have the same ceiling he has in the past, which
he'll win.
isn't.
He'll win Riley some weeks this year. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he seems to heat up as the year goes on. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't think he's going to be as consistent as he has been in the past.
Now I don't know if this is possible, but I would like it if Gavin could. I was a little bit distracted when you were talking. George Pickens made like an OBJ one-handed catch.
Oh,
I guarantee Gavin will be able to find this. Clip it in. I think this is very concerning. It's Ezekiel Elliott. Bryce had to use the 26th overall pick to take him, which it's the first year that he's been outside of like the first and second round. So it's
Yep.
kind of like I understood why you would take that chance, but he's only scored 5.4 points in both weeks, which is kind of funny. He scored the exact
kind
same
of weird.
2
Yeah.
weeks ago. And Tony Pollard.
I'm worried about that guy, about Ezekiel Elliott, big time.
Yeah, it's for starters, the Dallas offense with Dak out already, it's looking like their offense is going to have a little bit more struggles to score, so there won't be as many touchdowns. And then Tony Pollard's already, he's so effective, and you'd think that Zeke would get the goal line use, and it doesn't even look that way, right?
He's not, yeah. Like Zeke just doesn't have any bursts left. It doesn't seem like he doesn't have any breakaway speed. He can still break some tackles and stuff, but he's a shadow of what he used to be, and it's concerning when you take him 26th overall.
Yeah, it's you need more from him. You need him to be a top, I guess at least a top 24 running back.
Yeah,
or
it's
no,
hard
top
to start.
Yeah, I guess top 24 would be the lowest you want him to be.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's looking like he might not even be startable if this continues. So, yikes. That is definitely concerning. I will say, I don't know if this is real, but I feel like his helmet / visor,
Okay.
they are very different. Like, you need to look into this. He looks much different than he has in the past. I feel like he used to always have, because remember, like, you'd always see him doing that, like, eating motion, and he had a very Zeke-like look. He does not look like that anymore. Anyways, you gotta check that out.
It's like when they took the tinted visors off of Ovi.
I think it's but it's the opposite. Like, I think he has an even more tinted. Like, I don't think you can see his face. I think
he can't even see the field. He's just
that could be the issue.
Maybe he has concussion issues. He's just in a dark room at all times trying to play still.
Yeah, it's concussion helmet. Oh my god, it all makes sense now. Poor guy. All right, we're gonna move on to DJ Moore. I added him in. I wouldn't say you need to freak out about him.
No.
He was a 22nd overall pick. I liked the pick at the time. It's just we keep expecting like this DJ Moore breakout. He's been effective in the past, but it's like he feels like the type of talent that could be he could sneak into top 5 wide receiver territory if things broke right for him.
Never has the right quarterback. Baker Mayfield doesn't look good at all. He just looks like Sam Darnold 2.0.
Yeah, he does.
It's just brutal.
I feel like every time I see him, it feels like he's always running. He's always running out of the pocket. Maybe the coverage is like the line is breaking down, but oh god, they just showed the pickings highlight. I'm telling you, Gavin, you got to put it.
Oh my
Sorry.
God.
So DJ Moore over the first 2 weeks, he has 12 targets, 6 receptions over 2 weeks, 86 yards total, and a touchdown. So the touchdown obviously helps. Touchdowns have not come to him very easily over the past few years. But
I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
Like, I wouldn't say you have to drop him or anything like that. I just mean,
if anything,
like,
you trade him to me.
Oh, maybe I'm opening up.
I just really like the player.
You've always loved him. I
always loved him. He just has a soft spot. He's like Robbie Anderson, but I'm moving past that. Robbie Anderson, old news. DJ Moore took over for him in my heart.
He looks the part of like a top wide receiver. Right? It just hasn't quite come together. Anyways, he's just someone I noticed with his numbers. Like, oh, for 22nd overall pick, you definitely
Not
want
great.
more.
Yeah.
All right, the next guy, which is your guy, Kyle Pitts, 32nd overall. Everyone can see the potential, but only 10 targets in 2 weeks, 4 receptions. That's
He's
it.
had the exact
38
same
yards.
stat line over 2 weeks. Each week he's had 2 catches, 19 yards.
Oh man, that is like if his name wasn't Kyle Pitts, if it was some other tight end, you would not even consider him for your lineup.
He would
right?
be on the waiver wire.
100%.
But I cannot drop him.
No, and you're not going to. And like I think the biggest surprise is just that Drake London has looked so effective. And
He looks
so
incredible.
Good. And it's kind of like you think, I guess, new quarterback. Maybe he's built a rapport with Drake London before he, and Cup. I don't know. It's concerning. Me personally, I would hang on to Pitts, and I would
definitely. He's not really a guy I can even justify trading, at least not for a while.
No.
But like
And
the main reasons I drafted him is because of Marcus Mariota. Because I remember back to when he was a Tennessee tight end, Mariota. He used to just target the tight end nonstop.
Who was his tight end? Do you remember?
Oh, what's his name? I remember Gavin had him. I can't remember.
It'd be perfect if Gavin now edited a clip of
he will
whatever player.
I think he wore 89 for the Titans. Was it
pretty
Cook?
much like Antonio Gates, in his prime.
Just a really good football player in general. You could put him anywhere on the field and he's going to succeed.
They give it to Delaney Walker. He is going to trot in for the touchdown.
I don't remember either. I don't remember. It's totally up to Gavin here. Okay, speaking of Gavin, Chase Edmonds, 43rd overall pick.
Sorry, who'd you say? Did you say Myles Gaskin?
Oh, yeah. It certainly feels reminiscent of that, eh?
Yeah.
Was Drake London drafted right before him? Imagine that. Like some sort of like Jamar Chase kind of level player.
We gotta look that
up. Raheem Mostert seems to be getting a lot of work. Chase Edmonds only has 17 carries in 2 games. He's supposed to be the starter. Only 7 targets. Nothing special going on there. Would you be concerned about him?
Yes. Big time.
Would you consider dropping him?
I probably would. But again, he was high draft capital, so I totally get not being able to do that and not being able to give up on him because this is also, the exact situation as last year with Myles Gaskin. I kept starting him because I spent a high capital on him.
Yep.
And it just never happened.
Yep, like Allen
also,
Robinson.
After Chase Edmonds, Cordero Patterson went, and then Elijah Mitchell, and then Jalen Hurts.
Oh!
So, and Clyde. I missed Clyde.
Oh, CEH. That guy's had actually a pretty good start to the year.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, you know what? Let's keep on the topic of Gavin.
Down. Sorry.
Oh, that guy. He's decent.
Anyways.
So now that we're, talking about Gavin's team, let's also talk about DK Metcalf, which he took these 2 back to back.
He did?
I think he took DK first, actually, and then
yes.
DK Metcalf, he's had like a decent amount of targets, but he only has 71 yards after 2 weeks, and he has no touchdowns. Now, this is obviously a big effect of who's throwing him the ball, and he's got a quarterback.
Geno Smith.
He definitely doesn't air it out the same as Russell Wilson did. Would you be concerned about DK Metcalf?
I think at the end of the day, the talent will come out and he will have a good year. I would also like DK Metcalf on my team for the longevity because I don't even know if Geno Smith's going to be the starter all year, but I think I even saw today Pete Carroll spoke that they need to try to get the ball deep at least once in a while because all they do is throw checkdowns. But DK Metcalf's he's that deep receiver.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to come up with a plan to get him more involved because you got to use your best players if you ever have a chance to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which actually on the note of Seattle, I didn't see the game. Did Kenneth Walker we'll give Gavin this? Did Kenneth Walker look better? Did you see him?
I honestly didn't watch much of it except the highlights, but he seemed to be involved, which is a good start for a rookie running back coming off an injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he's probably going to have that starting job in a few weeks.
which
because the next guy on the list,
perfectly slides us in there to Rashad Penny, who's
who
Perry's
is
guy.
red alert. Oh God, he looks bad. The next two players are mad red alert.
Yeah, he was a 50th overall pick. I remember listening to podcasts. There was what they referred to as the dead zone of running backs, and Rashad Penny was definitely in there.
Yes,
I think he not like the top performing running back at the end of the year last year. So
yeah, the last
I
like
could
4 or 5 weeks.
yeah, like something like he was putting up at like 100 yards every game, easy.
Yeah.
Like I could definitely understand the merit of it, and I thought Kenneth Walker would be out longer. So this is unfortunate. So 6 carries, that's it in week 2 for
Not a
15
good
yards.
sign for
Oh
your
my
60th
god,
overall pick.
it's and like they always say, when a team spends a lot of draft capital, oh my god, capital, wow, on a running back, they typically end up putting them into the lineup and using them. So
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker was, I believe, the second running back taken in the draft.
I
So
believe so, yeah.
he was Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker. So that's
Which is
tough.
why Penny was even in the dead zone, because I feel like if they didn't draft a running back,
Yes, he
he
would have been
probably would have
saved.
went earlier based on how he was at the end of the year last year.
Okay, so the last guy that
Oh,
is maybe the most concerning. Luckily, it wasn't the same price as everyone else, but the 60th overall pick was Darnell Mooney to you. Wow, I don't know if you could have a worse line as a number 1 wide receiver.
what do you mean? He was 1 catch for -4 yards last week. That's pretty good, no?
Oh god, 5 targets, 2 receptions, 4 yards over 2 weeks. That is just abysmal. Like their offense.
The most concerning part for him is the fact that they've only thrown the ball 28 times through 2 games.
Oh man.
You're never going to have a successful receiver in that scenario. And they were down, I'm pretty sure, most of the game last game, and they didn't. It's like, we don't need to throw. We got this.
Oh, it was a grind watching that. It was as you said earlier, it's a lot of 3 and outs. So
Yeah,
they are dysfunctional to say the least. Now Green Bay has a decent defense, but still, that's just horrible.
he'll be on my bench until he's on the waiver wire.
You have so many wide receivers though, like it doesn't even matter.
This is true.
Are you gonna start Curtis Samuel? Do you think?
I have him in my lineup currently.
Whoa!
I believe Curtis Samuel is going to be consistent because I feel like he's going to get enough targets. He might not have weeks where he scores all the time, but I feel like he's kind of like my guaranteed baseline. I feel like he'll get 8 or 9 points every week guaranteed, which is kind of better than Mooney putting up 0. So I feel safe with Curtis Samuel.
He's looking good, and there was a lot of hype for him coming into last year. So
yeah,
could be nice. Okay, so on to the matchups. Who did you say you wanted to highlight?
Gavin's game. Or is that Finney? No, wait, Finney. Was that the
Finney.
same game? Sorry.
No.
Finney's game.
I don't know. Finney took on Bryce.
Beatard, yes, that's the one.
There you go. Okay,
Sorry, I switched the screen because I was watching the game by accident.
So we'll quickly run over the other 5. I have I want to highlight Perry versus Liz and David. That was a great matchup. So we'll start at the top, or at least how I see it. So I'm fortunately going to start with my game. Shiitake SPEW are 2-0. They beat me 93 to 77.72. Yikes, that was tough. My team didn't show up except for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Like, and then he had Tony Pollard, Christian Kirk. I was with him. I've been with him every Sunday recently, and it's everyone. Like Allen Robinson had 2 touchdowns. One was taken back, but everyone seemed to be getting touchdowns for him. Like it was just a huge week.
It happened to be your week when Jefferson and Chase didn't put up their usual weeks. So whenever that happens, you're probably gonna be struggling to win, especially with your running back situation with James Conner getting hurt right away.
Oh yeah, that one hurt. Yeah, it was. You got Cole Kmet with the donut. Yeah, it was just bad. bad week. But it happens. It's fantasy football. I can stomach it. Okay, on to we had Finkel is Einhorn. He beat Toronto Flatliners 99.88 to 83.58. What did you think of that matchup?
I'm actually shocked that Bruce is 2-0, being realistically based on his running back situation. But Gavin's team's kind of been in shambles this year, early on, because his whole bench is injured. So he just had to start the other guys he had, even though if they haven't been performing well, because he does have Chase Edmonds.
And I feel like
That's
that
just not fun.
the double
And even
eagle wide receiver experiment. I don't think it's
yes,
working.
it worked okay last week, I guess, but like I guess Devontae Smith just took away from AJ Brown though.
Yes.
So I guess it's not working. The more I think about it.
I would say that the impressive thing is that Steve is 2-0 and CMC hasn't even been CMC
Yep.
yet.
So the
that's
better
kinda
days are
cool.
ahead for him because his team's very good. He has some very, very good receivers.
Oh yeah. Okay, on to I keep going to week 3. Okay. We had you absolutely obliterated Riley, which Riley had a good week, so that's unfortunate for him. 140.46 to 113.78. Wow.
It was fun. It was a good week.
Yeah, your wide receivers absolutely outside of Mooney.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Wide receivers carried you. When you got 2 guys who are top 4 wide receivers for the week with high 30s or I guess mid 30s numbers, you're looking
They had
good.
like identical numbers. It was great.
And like Riley, his guys performed. Like Cooper
I think he
Kupp.
scored the second most on the week.
Ugh, that always hurts.
Yeah.
And we were talking like maybe Derrick Henry will have like a classic Derrick Henry kind of game, and he did not. And that definitely that did it for you.
Yeah. He actually scored the 4th most points. I don't want to be corrected, but Cannell and Perry also scored more points than him.
Good job correcting yourself. Well done. Way she goes 86.26 to Roguewild 72.90. They're both 1-1 now. Decent week, like pretty low scoring game actually. So
Very low scoring.
Nice for Winter that he's
got a little lucky.
Now he's 1-0. For him, I'd say the nice thing was Damian Pierce looked effective. So
that's big for him, yes, because he spent a pretty high draft pick. He said last week he was not concerned.
He did say that on our pod. Yeah,
he did. Doesn't matter when you got Drake London, though.
I'd say the surprising thing for Shane is Austin Eckler. He hasn't really been that effective. I don't know. They've been
using a lot of other running backs.
Yeah, I didn't like. Is he hurt or
no? He's not hurt.
Okay, the other matchup that we're not highlighting would be oh my god, Andrew absolutely killed David. 120.56 to 59.88. Oh my god, he didn't even show up.
Well, he did. Again, he didn't have Kamara or Kittle, 2 of his top picks.
That's true. So he had to make some. Oh yeah, good point.
He had to adjust, so it was already looking dark coming in for him. And then Cannell's team just balled out. Like Stephon Diggs, obviously, was the number 1 receiver on the week.
Wow, without him, he wasn't doing that great. Oh, wow.
No, and that was Monday night. So it looked a little closer going into Monday. I remember it was already over. The game was decided, but it was closer than I thought it was going to be.
That's crazy. What a game. Yeah, that Buffalo team looks way too good. I wonder if Miami's going to give them a run for their money, though. That should be fun.
Maybe Tennessee's just that bad.
True.
Because the Giants made them look bad as well in week 1, which is the most surprising thing. So maybe that Titan team's just done, and the Bills just torch them, as they should. Good
point. Actually, yeah. They look unfocused. Like I remember there were a couple muffed punts, which you don't ever see that in the NFL. Like there were 2 muffed punts by the Tennessee guys. Brutal. Okay, so you wanted to highlight the matchup
Magic
between
School Bus and Captain Cook. First of all, this game would have been decided by Tua, which is on Finney's bench, as we already mentioned, which is so hard, so hard to deal with for him. Like just seeing that, knowing that's why you lost, and that's like an introduction to fantasy football. Like you said, welcome. Like this happens all the time.
Oh,
you gotta feel the regret all week.
Did he pick up Carson Wentz and Tua?
He did, yeah. I think we mentioned it last week.
Oh my god!
I think he had Tua in originally, and then he pivoted to Wentz.
Wow,
which hurts even more for him, I'm sure. But like, Dalvin Cook for him hasn't been like his team hasn't performed that well
No.
overall. But to be fair, he still had a good week out of Carson Wentz. Like Carson Wentz wasn't the reason he actually lost. 28 points out of your quarterback is more than enough every week. Like he outdueled still Justin Herbert, which is crazy to see because Carson Wentz is just not a good football player, but he's been good for fantasy for the last year, it seems. I remember last year we just kept picking him up and dropping him after starts. He was like everyone's streamer.
Just pass him around.
And like both of them, like, I feel like these teams are very evenly matched this week. Like both their tight ends did nothing. Their quarterbacks were like equals. Like it was a very evenly matched game that did come down to start sit decisions, which is why I wanted to highlight it.
Yeah, it's and what that makes Finney 0-2, which is surprising because we liked his team coming out of the draft.
I still like his team.
Me too. It's a lot of it's just being Dalvin Cook and Najee Harris. Harris is dealing with injury, and then Cook is just not being effective yet.
Yep.
So those things will change. Things will look up. Like that's a tough start, but I'm sure. And even Courtland, like one thing you can look at and be happy about is Courtland Sutton looks like his connection with Russell Wilson is forming. So
very much so, but it also does look like Russell Wilson's a little lost.
He does. He doesn't look right, eh?
He just looks scared to throw. Like I feel like I remember in Seattle, it was just like he used to go deep so often and so accurately, and just seemed to always make the right decision. But like he's just been making some pretty questionable decisions the first 2 weeks in Denver, and I don't know if you saw that one screenshot. I think Canel sent in one of the chats, but I remember seeing it the other day when the guy's just wide open in the end zone, waving his arms, and Russell Wilson doesn't even see him. And it's only like 10 yards away. Maybe he needs glasses, like
I think that was
the Mighty Ducks movies.
I think it looked like it was Javonte Williams.
I think it was Javonte. Yes,
I'm happy you didn't see him.
Yeah. Either way, you lost anyways.
I lost anyways. Doesn't matter. Yeah, that was a good matchup, and like Bryce obviously was carried by Nick Chubb. Justin Herbert was great, and then that rib injury must have had Bryce kind of feeling a little bit scared. But
just kept playing. Didn't matter.
Sounds like he's coming back. So yeah, I think Bryce is a very interesting team. He's got good players, but he's got a lot of guys that are in some tough spots. Like
he's got some pretty good depth though too. Just guys who are injured or banged up a little bit right now that might be good for him down the long. Like we were saying, Julio earlier,
or
Julio's
Dobbins,
a good player. And Dobbins.
Yeah, good point. All right, I'm gonna move on. Let's talk about the last matchup here, which I thought was super exciting. I thought that DeAndre the Giant had this in the bag. And the afternoon games really changed it up. So, Thunder Gun Express, which is Perry, 124.22, took down DeAndre the Giant, 87.90. It ended up being an absolute crushing, but at one point it was looking very bleak. Obviously, for Perry having Lamar Jackson, which him putting up a week like that is just so... It must be so nice to see because last year he didn't look like the Lamar Jackson that we were used to.
I think he had 1 week like that all year last year. When the year before the year I won,
he was every week.
Every week he scored at least 35 points. It felt like
exactly, yeah. So that it looked like it came easy to them. So and Miami has a good defense. Like Miami has a good defense. I feel like the Ravens are the secondary that's going to be taken advantage of more this year than
it does
Miami
seem that way, yeah.
So, and then he's got like Tyreek Hill, which he was a player that I was a little bit worried about being on Miami. I didn't think he'd be that effective, but it doesn't look like not having like Tua might be just as good as not as good as Mahomes, but fantasy wise, he might still offer Tyreek the support he needs to put up.
He might, yeah.
Weeks, so.
He looks good so far.
And then he's got guys like DJ Moore, which he could pop off at some point. Anyways, I was impressed by that week, just because on the flip side, I thought DeAndre the Giant had one of the best teams. I still think they have one of the best teams. I remember early on, DeAndre Swift looked like he was going to have a gigantic game. He ended up with a decent game, 15.7 points. It looked like he'd do even better. Yep. Saquon Barkley looked like he could break a run at any point, but he didn't quite. He got limited. Anyways, I was impressed by that win. I thought that was a really big statement win by Perry, just kind of stating that like he's here to play. You know,
I think he needed that win though. Like starting 0-2 always hurts, but especially when you have guys like Lamar and stuff. Like I had this team last year, and it just sucked knowing you had all this talent that was before. I mean, then when they show up and they win it for you, it just feels so good.
You're right.
Like I was telling you earlier, Perry actually texted me Friday.
Yes.
Saying that after Mike Williams had his big Thursday night game, saying that he's gonna get blown out this week. And I literally said, you never know. Lamar sometimes scores 50 points, and then he got to experience it for himself, and now he's probably all in on Lamar Jackson.
Oh yeah,
just that first time that happens, it feels so good.
Imagine he wins this year and he ends up with Lamar Jackson jersey.
Oh, that'd be so good.
It'd be so funny if I just thought of this. If like the winner kept winning with the same player, so like everyone ends up with the same jersey.
One of every color, every style.
Oh my god. Anyways, that was it's been a good start to the year. We're 2 weeks in. Like in our division, everyone's 1-1 except for my dad, which who would have expected that, eh?
No one.
I thought that was kind of funny to see. And then in the AFC, you got Andrew and Steve sitting at the top, a couple 1-1s and a couple 0-2s. It's going to be a little weird because of 7 teams in each division. Someone's playing outside of conference, so it's going to make things a little bit different. Like I think last year I scheduled it whereas you played everyone in your division, then you went outside division, so it'll be a little different in that way. But it's looking like a balanced year. Like you said, coming out of the draft, you're like, wow, I like most of these teams. Like,
yeah,
you think that the talent is much more spread out than in years past.
Completely agree. I feel like everyone has a chance to win every week, or it feels like it at least, which has definitely not been the case in the past.
No, 100%.
Everyone's just getting better.
And like Winter kept talking about my team, but I got destroyed this past week. So come on, anyone can win or lose.
Yep, that's the fun of fantasy football.
Is there anything else you'd like to touch on before we call it another day?
Just actually slightly. I was actually talking to Gavin earlier in the week, and I'm actually looking forward to next year for league decisions. Like if we're sticking with 14 teams and all this, because I love 14 teams. It's been great. But I think maybe we have a vote next year on having 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and 2 flex. Just to make a little more flexibility, because the waiver wires are a lot more dire. So just makes it so more people have the ability can be played. It'll maybe make more movement. I don't know. I was just thinking about it the other day. Thought I'd run it by you. Just to plant that seed for future.
Okay. I guess the way I see it, there's only so many running backs to go around.
Mm-hmm. But that would make the trade market maybe more intense. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe.
It's discussed in the future. I was just planting that seed.
Yeah, that's
before I forgot about it.
No, there's definitely a lot of things that we're going to learn throughout this year, and
and we'll adjust.
I'm always open to suggestions and possible changes. So, so far, I think I'm loving this league, and I'm loving the people in it. So hopefully we can continue this for many, many years to come.
Hopefully.
Anyways, it's been a fun 2 weeks. We're on to the 3rd week. Is there any games that you're looking forward to this week, like outside of your Giants? I'm thinking that Bills Miami.
Yeah, that game's gonna be great. I'm also kind of looking forward to the Bengals game because I'm thinking that this is the week Joe Burrow explodes personally, because the Jets teams, their defense specifically is a disaster. I think I'm not even sure if Sauce Gardner's playing, so that'll be even better for Chase.
Oh man!
And last year kind of turned me a bit into a Bengals fan, at least.
Was he actually
betting on them in the playoffs?
Is his real name Sauce? Like, was he actually named
Sauce?
Not.
No, it's not. I don't think. I guess I don't know.
Imagine.
I like that name though.
If it's a girl, we'll name her Courtney. If it's a boy, we'll name her Sauce. What? The other matchup that I think is going to be pretty cool is Chiefs at Colts. I think the Colts could I don't know. They are due to have a good game. They're a good team.
What if they're just bad? Like Matt Ryan looks done.
I don't think so. I don't think they're bad. I think I don't know. There's all these stats. So the first 2 weeks they played Houston, they played the Jags, and there's all these stats that are against them in those 2 games. I don't know why they've been bad against the Texans and Jags. So Now they're free from their division. It's a game against where there's no expectations in this game. I look out for the Colts this week. I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna surprise the NFL. Yep, that's my bold take of the day.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got. Good pod, man. I miss Winter though. I'll look forward to having him back on at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I was shocked he wasn't coming today, to be honest.
I know, right?
But
we'll hopefully have him next week. He said he's down for many more. So
sweet.
All right. Well, good talking with you, man. Let's have a good week 3. Let's have fun.
Let's get some wins.
All right. Say your bye.
Bye.